Hi Michael, thanks for taking time to talk to me. You're currently working for the IFA and playing football for Dungannon Swifts. We'll talk about both of those things today. But if we go back to the beginning, as a youth player you had trials at a lot of clubs in England. Can you tell me about some of the clubs you were at when you were over there?
My first experience of obviously going across the water was actually Arsenal. And when I think back at it, my dad dropped me off at the international airport and I flew into Heathrow, believe it or not, and I met a man holding a sign with my name on it, and he literally brought me to the digs. I stayed overnight and I played on the Sunday against Tottenham, and it was my first experience of football in England. I remember it well. I actually scored a hat-trick, and we won. I think we beat Tottenham 9-0 at the time, but that was my first experience of going to England, and it was a great experience. And then I was very, very fortunate to go to my club, my favourite club, Manchester United, Liverpool, Leeds, Chelsea. Yeah, I did the rounds. There's quite a few more there, obviously, as well as the club that I later went on to sign for, which is Charlton as well. But I had great experiences going to England, and at such a young age, if you imagine a 13-year-old or 14-year-old travelling across, I think nowadays it's a lot different in terms of you probably need to bring a parent guardian with you. Before, we kind of went over by ourselves, and it was some experience.
Did you ever get homesick when you were there?
Yeah, when I signed for Charlton, I experienced homesickness more and more. But when you're across, you're only usually across for the weekend or someday a mid-term break, so your school break. You used to go on work experience, or in the February, you used to go over for a week. So yeah, you always did get homesick because you missed your friends and things like that. Because you're playing football, you're back into a house and you're preparing for the next day, so you miss the going out with your friends and obviously your family as well.
When you signed for Charlton, did you think that was the start of something big?
Yeah, I think when you sign a professional contract, you're so excited. I signed like a two-year scholarship and a 2-year professional contract, so that was brilliant, and I was looking forward to it. And football was going really, really well for me. Obviously, growing up, I enjoyed the experience when I moved across, and I hoped that it was going to lead on to be a professional footballer and play in the Premier League. But obviously, it just doesn't always work out like that. And but yeah, I look forward to it, definitely.
When you were released by Charlton, did you feel like quitting football completely?
No, because I thought that would have probably been a bit selfish in terms of, like, not many players get the opportunity to go across the water. Not many players get an opportunity to have a professional contract at a club in England. I was very lucky. I knew I was lucky to be there as well, because it's a very difficult game, football, and there's ups and downs. So I was prepared and ready for it, and I was just excited about a new challenge, because it's like anything, all you want to do is play football. You don't really mind where it is, but you just want to enjoy playing football.
You played at Wrexham for a year, then you came back and signed for Linfield. How did that move come about?
It was actually Brian McLaughlin, who was the assistant manager at Linfield for 7 years alongside David Jeffrey. I was at Wrexham and Brian started contacting me. Wrexham were in League 2 at the time and we were fighting to stay up. I think we got relegated, and then it was a case of the club was going to go through a whole new reshuffle of players. So it was one of them that we kind of seen it coming, and Linfield were on the phone and they were very good with me from the start. They were probably the first club to contact me back home, and so as soon as I came back home, I think the deal had already really been done with Davey and Brian, and then that was the start of my adventure at Linfield, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
Can you tell me about meeting David Jeffrey for the first time?
Yeah, I can. It's actually a funny story. Obviously I grew up and I went to a Gaelic school, and my dad played Gaelic as well as football as well, but my dad was always a bit wary of David Jeffries. He didn't know what to expect. There's obviously rumours going around the Irish League game, what he was like and things like that there. And just as I said that, my dad was like, now when you go in here, be cautious and all, don't be giving too much away, and play it cool. And we went into his office and he sat down and he made us feel like $1 million. He was hugging and kissing my dad. My dad was agreeing with everything he said. And I remember just turning around to my dad and said, what was all that talk about, play it cool now? But as soon as you see David, he's got that character about him and personality that he makes you feel good. And as soon as I left that office, I knew that I wasn't going anywhere else, and I wanted to sign and play under him.
You won 3 leagues at Linfield. What was your most memorable league title and why?
The first one is always the most memorable. When I first signed my first season, we lost it to Glentoran, and that was a bitter pill to swallow. There was a lot of people questioning whether this team was good enough. So to come back the following year and go on and win it, to get your hands on the trophy and get your first medal was amazing. And then I was very lucky that I had good friends at the club as well, like Robert Garrett and me, played throughout all youth career together and went across to England, even at Wrexham as well. So to come back and win stuff with friends as well you grew up with was really good, and that was a special bunch of Linfield players and a great team. So the first league medal is always the best, I say.
What was your worst moment playing at Linfield?
Worst moment playing at Linfield? Like football in all aspects, there were some highs and there were some lows. Probably the lowest was probably, as I mentioned, that first year we lost the league to Glentoran, who obviously were our bitter rivals. And I remember them singing songs and all about it as well, winding up Davy and things like that there. But looking at it now, although it was a terrible experience for us, it was the best thing for us, because then we went and did 3 doubles for the next 3 years, so 3 leagues and 3 Irish Cups. So that was fantastic. Other lows, to be fair, my time at Linfield, it was enjoyable, but losing the league to Glentoran, bitter rivals.
How do Crusaders approach you, and why did you choose Crusaders with there being so much competition in your position there?
That's a good question. It's very similar. As a player, you like to speak to the manager and get a feel of what he's like. Stephen Baxter rang and was brilliant. He was similar to David. Obviously Warren Finney was managing Linfield at the time. So when Stephen rang me and we started discussing and talking about it, my mind was still on. I wasn't leaving Linfield, but circumstances changed. And the way Stephen explained what he wanted to do, the plans he had, the club, one of my best friends in football, Billy Joe Burns, was there. He was at Linfield with me that whole time. He moved the year before, so he told me about the club and he sold it to me, and it was brilliant. And they didn't disappoint either, because everything they told me was true. In terms of the competition, everyone says it. There's Paul Heatley, Gavin White, and Gavin White was only young at the time, but that was brilliant. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Coming from Linfield, I was used to that, because at Linfield we had the guts of 25 players that could play in our first team. So even when I went to Crusaders, people said there's a lot of players that are obviously going to start in your position in this competition. That's what you want as a footballer. Sometimes you want to be challenged and you want to play with the best and play against the best as well. But to go to Crusaders, it was something I thoroughly enjoyed and another great experience, and obviously gave me the opportunity to win more trophies, which as a player you look back on and think it was the right decision.
One of your first games at Crusaders, you scored in the Champions League away in Estonia. Was that one of your best moments in a Crusaders shirt?
Yeah, it probably is the best moment in a Crusaders shirt, because obviously it's a Champions League. I think it was the club obviously first year in it in a long while. Obviously they won the league the year before, so we went out there. We drew 0-0 at home, and I remember scoring, and it was unbelievable. And then they equalised, make it 1-1, but we held out, and the atmosphere, the fans were over, the dressing room. I think there were some members of staff almost in tears, because of just where the club had been and where they've came to in terms of their development was super. And it was great for the club, and it was great to be a part of it.
What was the best trophy you won at Crusaders?
Best trophy? Obviously, very, very simple one. We lost the league title to Linfield on the last day of the season, and that was heartbreaking. Obviously my good friend Andy Water, he still reminds me of it. We kind of threw that one away, but everybody had said that Crusaders team was finished, that they were done, that they were old, their legs were gone, and Linfield were too strong, because they won it that year. But we bounced back and obviously came and won it the following year and got the trophy back. So that there was definitely the best trophy, because it was kind of like we proved to everybody that, that Crusaders team wasn't finished and there was still something left in the tank, and to get it back, it showed a lot of character.
And what was your worst moment playing at Crusaders?
Worst moment playing at Crusaders? Personally, for me, it was the losing the league at Ballymena. We went down to Ballymena, and we knew if we beat Ballymena, we had Glenavon in the last match this season, and all we had to do was win both games and we won another league title. And we went down to Ballymena and we were all terrible. There's actually a documentary of it. I think you've seen Stephen coming in afterwards and he couldn't even speak to us. But we lost that game. It was 3-1. Well, it still hurts to this day. But we always look back at it and say, the following year we came back and got the trophy back. So that showed a lot of character, but it was really sore. It was a bad summer, and it didn't help obviously that Andy Water scored the goals to win the league, and I was on his wedding and he brought the trophies in during his wedding a month later. That didn't hurt me as much as I thought it would. But those are the things you learn, and that was definitely the lowest moment.
Just before you signed for Dungannon Swifts, was there any other clubs interested in signing you?
Yeah, I spoke to a few clubs. Probably best I don't say who it was. A few clubs contacted me and we discussed different options and things we could look at. But for me, I knew Chris Lindsay. I've worked with Chris, obviously, in the IFA. I played with Chris at Linfield, and I liked what he was trying to do with Dungannon, and I seen it as a fresh start, something different. I'm 32. I'm 32 now. I suppose when I signed, it probably about 31, 30s. So I knew I wanted to go somewhere where I could have a different influence and impact on the team. Crusaders went full time, and Stephen knew that just with my job and work and commitment, I couldn't devote as much time to the club as I wanted to. So Dungannon seemed like a perfect fit, and I have to say, since I've been down there, I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm still at 32. I want to look at further next year, the season after, and keep pushing on, because I still think there's something left in me anyway. I'm not done yet.
And what's it like playing at Dungannon Swifts?
Yeah, it's different. I obviously came from Linfield, where your fans go everywhere and big crowds, and then you move to Crusaders, and the intensity of the Crusaders team as well that I signed for was a great team. Dungannon have a young team, and they've got a lot of young players that came through their youth system, which is excellent, and the young boys are fantastic, and it's great to work with them and play with them and try and help them as much as I can. But we're still pushing on. We're still playing against in the Irish League. We're getting what's the word I'm looking for? Obviously, we're getting more game time, me personally, but we're obviously getting a bit better experience as well for those young boys coming through. And hopefully, if we keep them together and we keep pushing on, the only thing is they'll get better and better. And the people around the club are fantastic. It's a real family club, and it's one of those clubs when you play against them, you enjoy playing against them, because when you go down there, they look after you and they do things properly.
So you're wearing your IFA jacket here today. Can you tell me about your job in the IFA?
Yeah, my job in the Irish FA is the Volunteer Development Officer, so I would be responsible for trying to help clubs in terms of volunteers, recruitment and retaining them and developing them. I also, alongside my role, work in coach education, so today we're delivering the UFSC diploma. So we have over 30 coaches on the course, and I thoroughly enjoy working with coaches and trying to help them develop, albeit that the main thing we're looking for is that the standard of play improves in the country, so better coaches, better players.
And finally, you've had a great career in the Irish League. What has been your best goal that you've scored?
Best goal? I think the one that probably, when I do finish, the one everyone will remember, and it's hard to say it because obviously I love Crusaders as well, but the time at Linfield was probably the Irish Cup final, 2012. We played Linfield, and I scored a free kick. I think it's the goal that when you bump into people and they mention anything about that final, I think that thankfully they still remember that free kick. But I remember obviously when I signed for Crusaders, I wasn't allowed to talk about it too much because it was still a sore subject, but that free kick back in 2012 was probably my best goal.
Thanks very much for taking time to talk to me, and all the best for next season.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Nick.